Time to do better audio on a budget. Let's go! You're listening to the VIC Podcasters podcast, your bite-sized slice of podcasting know-how. We're here to connect Victorian podcasters. Whether you're just starting, a seasoned pro, or stuck in the one day I will phase, stop dreaming and dive in. Join our email list or hop onto our Facebook and LinkedIn groups for updates, resources, and a supportive community. Because podcasting is better when we do it together. VIC Podcasters is proudly produced on Wadawurrung land. Time to start with some hard truths. Fancy gear does not equal great sound. You may see these great expensive setups on podcasts for celebrities or in those great studios that they hire out to do their podcast on. And I'm going to tell you now that the mic that they use doesn't necessarily magically make it a good setup. And that is the same with your mic setup. Your microphone isn't magic without actually prep. So let's start off with a couple of things that you can do no matter what type of microphone setup you're using to be able to get the most out of it. So let's start off with, before we even touch the microphone, and especially when you're on a budget, because you may not even have a microphone yet, you're going to start off with location, location, location. Your recording space is everything. There's a reason why these podcast studios have a little bit of work done to them. Sometimes they're recording in lofts or in terrible quality spaces, but they've got so much soft furnishings and plushing around them that mean that the sound sounds better because it's not bouncing off hard surfaces. You have a nice, small, soft, quiet space to be able to record your podcasts. And for some places, that may not necessarily be accessible to you, but if you have access to a car, maybe going out somewhere off-grid or somewhere where you can record that is not necessarily going to have a bunch of traffic near you, that might be useful. Being able to record in a closet or somewhere like that you can have nice soft furnishings around you. Unfortunately for our podcasts, we do not have that luxury, but we'll be moving soon, so hopefully we will. G'day listener, I'm just pausing your podcasting experience to let you know that I have my own podcast, the Unboring Your Brand podcast. It's branding, but make it unboring. Smashing your goals while laughing and listening to Unboring Your Brand podcast. Check it out wherever your podcatcher says that you can. You can find the one that's by the Video Confidence Coach. And that's me. And now back to your scheduled programming. A nice, cheap and effective way to get that plush sound is to use your doona cover. So if you have a nice, thick doona cover or woolen blanket, making sure that you hang that over either a clothes rack or maybe even something like that you can use to give yourself a bit of space, that it can reduce all of those harsh sounds, blocks any reverb, makes your setup sound like a pro. Unfortunately, you're not going to look it because you're going to be under a doona cover, but yeah, you get what you can. Now moving on to the actual microphone. Time to think about your phone setup. You can use something as simple as your mobile phone. Make sure that you clean it so it doesn't have any debris anywhere, and do the following steps. Make sure that you put your mobile phone on airplane mode and turn off any notifications. This will stop any recordings that you do having a bzz or a in the middle of your recording, and it makes you annoyed because you have to restart your sentence again, but it can also come off as a little bit unprofessional. I've listened to many a podcast where the guests or the person's phone is going off in the background, and it makes you feel like you haven't spent the time to actually even do the bare minimum of putting your phone on Do Not Disturb. But if you're recording from your phone, it's going to be even worse. So in those moments, make sure that you're not holding it to your face, that you've got at least a good 5 to 10 centimeters of distance between you and the microphone. You also want to use the butt end of the microphone because that's where the microphone in a mobile phone is recorded, at the butt end where you usually charge. It's down there. And you can rest it on some books or maybe a tripod or something like that. So you're not using your hands to hold the phone. So to avoid any crushing sounds or any sort of something like that. Now, of course, I'm doing that on purpose, but you don't want to do that on purpose when you're trying to sound professional. Another thing that you can do to reduce any sounds that are outside of your control is to turn off any mechanical sounds, other than like fans, your fridges, or anything that hums in the background. Unfortunately, you can't turn off your pets or your kids, but you can do your best to work with what you have in the moment and work with what you can. And if you want, maybe even ask any of your housemates or any of your people that you live with to be quiet for about 10 minutes as you record. Yes, that does put a bit of pressure on you, but pressure might be good to getting things done. Another thing that you can do as you're recording, especially using a microphone, especially using a mobile microphone or a cheaper microphone, is making sure that you speak at a consistent volume and energy. Of course, that doesn't exactly work for us at the VIC Podcasters, but you can do your best to keep things consistent for you. Always make sure you test things. Never just go whole ham and record an hour-long podcast without even testing a couple of seconds to see if you actually still sound good. Do your best to check things again and repeatedly. And always do your best to record your setup bit by bit as you get better, as you learn new tactics. And hopefully by the end of your process, even within the first 3 episodes, you are going to learn so much about how to record with your current setup and what you can do to invest in the future, because you will know ahead of time what you can do to improve. To recap slightly, you can use your mobile phone in a quiet room under a doona cover, and you can get high quality audio that is better than a $3,000 mic in an AQE room. Also, make sure that you don't hit the table if you are having a table in front of you, because any sort of vibrations always hit the microphone. And the thing that I recommend for all new podcasters, whether you have a professional setup or not, your first episodes are going to be a good training ground. You're going to improve each time. So do not put pressure on yourself to be perfect. Hey, I'm 1,000 episodes in and I'm still learning. Having your podcast sound good respects your audience and your listeners' time. Start simple, upgrade later, and if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, make sure it works with the budget that you've got. That's it for this week's episode. Tune in next week for more tips, updates, and the occasional pun. Good ideas buzzing? Excellent. Head to the show notes in this episode for details that you'll need to dive deeper into Victoria's podcasting community. VIC Podcasters would like to acknowledge and pay our respects to the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians on the land on which we work, live, and play. We pay our respects to our elders past and present. We stand with the traditional custodians in these lands in working towards a more equal future. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. And hey, don't forget, podcasting is better with mates.